The more influential and popular of the six darshanas is called Vedanta. This term basically means end of the Vedas. We spoke about the four Vedas and the role they played during the Vedic period. Hinduism during the Vedic period was very this worldly, life-affirming, with a concern for the proper performance of ritual, especially sacrifice. You might recall that at about the same time that classical Hinduism is developing, there were religious traditions such as Buddhism and Jainism. Unlike the this worldly and life-affirming nature of early Hinduism, these new traditions began as more otherworldly and life-negating. Recall my comparison to the 1960s in America and dropouts. Recall also the tendency of Hinduism to incorporate beliefs and practices, like your grandmother's attic. This tendency to absorb other influences and the ascetic ideals of Buddhism and Jainism would be reflected in Hindu scriptures. There were currents within and outside Hinduism that began criticizing the significance of sacrifice, or at least interpreting rituals in a more spiritual or ascetic way. So for each of the four Vedas, there would be added more scriptures. The first group were the Brahmanas, which served as commentaries on the Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva Vedas. Then came the Aranyakas, or forest books, that served as ascetic commentary for dropouts. Following these were the Upanishads, which also commented on the four Vedas, but tended to be more philosophical in nature. Upanishads are the last scriptures of the Vedas and the general focus of the Vedanta philosophy. In the upper left corner of the slide is a drawing of Shankara, the most famous Hindu philosopher. Vedanta is a monistic philosophy, again arguing that ultimately everything is one. Much of the philosophical writings of Shankara address the unitary relationship between Brahman and Atman. Go back and look at slide number 3. The type of Vedanta that Shankara held was what is called Vedanta Advaita, or non-dual Vedanta. Sometimes Shankara would use negative imagery to make his arguments. This is where you see the neti on the slide. Yes, neti does also relate to a practice of using a neti pod to evacuate mucus through your nose. But the phrase neti means not this, or not this, not that. In trying to help us understand what Brahman is, using negative imagery can be helpful. For example, you can say, Brahman is not this, it is not that, as you point to different things. Or how about Brahman is not here, not there. Brahman is blank. Yes, you say everywhere. In Western religions, sometimes negative theology does something similar. God is not this, God is not that. This is an effective way of not localizing or categorizing God or the ultimate. Some of you know of the dangerous things that have been done in God's name when one tries to put God in one's ideological pocket. For a survey course such as this, I do not quiz, and I'm not going to talk about the types of Vedanta on the right side of the slide. The philosophers Ramanuja and Madhva represent a type of Vedanta under the category of qualified dualism. They both felt that Shankara went too far in his arguments for monism.